Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to discuss some Hyatt hotel category changes. Now Hyatt just announced that they're going to be having many of their hotels changing categories. Some of them will be going up and then some of them will be going down. In this video, what I'm going to do is just discuss some of the highlighted hotels that are going to be changing. And then hopefully by the end of the video, you can determine whether or not it's going to make sense for you to book one of these Hyatt hotels before the changes end up occurring, or to hold off until one of these changes end up happening so you can end up saving some of your hard-earned points with one of your bookings. Now, before we go over the changes, let's first discuss what Hyatt categories are. So Hyatt has all of their hotels in different categories going from 1 to 8, and then each one of these hotels in those categories has a set amount of points that's going to cost to redeem for that hotel stay. So if you happen to have a category 1 hotel that you're trying to stay at, on a standard night, it's going to cost you 5,000 points. If you happen to have a category 8 that you happen to be staying at, on a standard night, it's going to cost you 40,000 points. Now they do have peak and off peak, so it can end up costing a little bit more points, a little bit less points, depending on what time you end up going. But typically it's end up being right around that fixed rate, which ends up making Hyatt hotels awesome, because when it ends up being something like dynamic pricing, this can allow a hotel that you're looking at trying to go to end up costing way more points than you originally thought you were going to have to pay. So if it ends up being dynamic pricing, even though you think that it's going to end up costing something like 40,000 points, if it ends up being really popular, it might end up being 100 or 150,000 points. But with Hyatt hotels, it doesn't allow that to happen. They only have it at standard or peak or off peak, which allows you to know pretty much where you need to have the amount of points to actually be able to redeem for a stay at this hotel. Now, Hyatt also has many all-inclusive hotels, and with them, they're going to have categories going from A to F, but it's going to pretty much be in the same exact concept where you're going to have a fixed amount of points. You're going to have standard, peak, and off-peak times. Now, as of March 28th, many of the hotels that are currently in one category are going to be moving to a different category. In fact, from the points guide, a whopping 214 hotels are going to be just moving up within the Hyatt program. Now, I haven't actually seen how many are going to be moving down to try to offset this, but 214 hotels within Hyatt ends up being a lot of hotels, since the fact that Hyatt doesn't actually have that big of a footprint. I believe Hyatt has somewhere around the lines of like 1,300 hotels within their entire program. So 214 just moving up ends up being quite a big portion of their hotels going up in category. Now, the first ones that I want to discuss in this video are going to be the category 4s that are moving up. Now, the importance of this is going to be because if you happen to have the World of Hyatt credit card, you get yourself a free category 1 to 4 certificate just for having this card. So this allows you to redeem for these hotels to get yourself a free night stay. However, if these hotels are moving from category 4 up to category 5, this means these hotels are no longer eligible for you to redeem for a free night stay. Now, I'm not going to go over all of them with changes, but I will go over the highlighted ones that jump out to me. And the first one that jumps out to me is literally the hotel that I stayed at last week, which was the Eliza Jane out in New Orleans. I was out in New Orleans for Mardi Gras and I had an incredible time, and the Eliza Jane Hotel is definitely one that I would recommend. It is a beautiful hotel that has incredible food for breakfast. If you happen to be a globalist, I highly recommend it. And this is a hotel that is now moving from category 4 up to category 5. Now, while this is unfortunate, there is also going to be another Hyatt hotel that is a category 4, the Hyatt Centric, that is walking distance away. But I don't think that it's going to be as nice as the Eliza Jane. I really do recommend the Eliza Jane. This hotel definitely helped improve my travel experience for my first time going out to New Orleans. I could definitely see this end up being one of the more popular hotels out there at a category 4. The next highlighted one is going to be the Chicago Athletic Association Hotel. Now, this is one that I've never stayed at, but I've seen numerous people talk about this hotel. They say it's one of the best places you can end up redeeming your category 1 to 4 certificate, because it ends up being really expensive if you decide to stay at this hotel for normal cash prices. But unfortunately, it looks like this hotel is going to be jumping up to being in category 5. Also on this list is going to be the Thompson Hotel in Madrid. This is actually a hotel I have booked for the summer that I'm going to be staying at. This hotel has only been open since, I believe, either September or October. And I remember seeing when it opened up, and I knew I was actually going to be going over to Spain. I was thinking it would be great to stay at this hotel, but all the reviews I read about this hotel ended up just being absolutely fantastic. And everyone who was in the points miles game said this hotel was definitely going to go up in category. Now, it's kind of funny because this hotel is going to be going up in category and not even really being open for like 6 months. But if all the reviews that I've read about this hotel happen to be true, then I think I understand why this hotel would end up going up in category. It ends up being quite expensive for a cash price. Now, I've already booked it and I've already have a suite upgrade connected to it, so I'm definitely looking forward to staying at this hotel. But unfortunately, this Thompson Hotel is no longer going to be a category 4. A few other Hyatt hotels are going to be moving out of category 4 are going to be the Hyatt Regency out in Amsterdam, the Grand Hyatt out in Seoul, and also the Andaz out in San Diego, which is not one that I've stayed at, but I have read numerous people really like this. Even one of the subscribers, David, wrote in saying that it was a great 1 to 4 category redemption. Now, moving away from category 1 to 4, it appears that many of the favorite hotels in Hawaii are going to be moving up. So the Grand Hyatt in Kauai is going to be moving up in category, and also the Hyatt Regency in Maui is going to be moving up. Also, many of the all-inclusive hotels within the Hyatt program are going to be moving up. Now, I'm not someone who stays at all-inclusives. However, I do know that there are a lot of people who love staying at all-inclusive hotels because of how much value they can end up getting from that. However, it appears that Hyatt is actually moving many of these up in category. And honestly, I've noticed that Hyatt's actually been buying a lot of all-inclusive hotels over the past couple of years. So it appears that Hyatt is trying to dominate this category, especially when it comes to places like in the Caribbean and in Mexico. But it looks that like a lot of these hotels are going to be going up in category. I still think you can end up getting yourself really good value from it for these all-inclusives, but just know that this is what's going to end up happening at these hotels. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. While many of these hotels are going up in category, there's actually a lot of them that are going down. Now, just from glancing over this list, from what I've noticed is that out in Europe, you're going to end up seeing many of the hotels actually going down in categories. Especially out in France and in the UK, I've seen many of the hotels over there going down in categories. Now, these happen to be mostly the small luxury hotels of the world, which I've also noticed that actually don't give you the greatest value for your points. Typically, what you're going to be looking to try to get for your Hyatt points is going to be somewhere around 2 cents or more per point. Whereas I've noticed that if you try to redeem at many of these small luxury hotels of the world, you end up getting yourself closer to like 1 cent, sometimes 1.5. Now, I have also seen you get yourself way more than that, but I've just noticed on average, it tends to not be as good as just standard Hyatt hotels when it comes to redeeming your points at these locations. But these hotels, it looks like many of them are actually going to be going down in their category. So if you happen to be someone who likes to stay at small luxury hotels of the world and you happen to be going over to Europe, then it may actually make sense to hold off for a moment before you end up doing your booking until after March 28th, because then you won't have to use as many points for your redemption for your stay. And from what I've seen, small luxury hotels of the world end up being some beautiful locations and some beautiful properties. So they're definitely ones that I'm hoping to try to stay at in the future, but just always make sure to compare the price with your points, with especially the small luxury hotels of the world, just to make sure you end up getting yourself good value for your points. Now, Hyatt made similar changes last year, and I do think that Hyatt makes these changes based off of the popularity of certain hotels. So hotels that end up getting a lot of people going to them and redeeming points for them, Hyatt ends up moving up, and then hotels that don't happen to get as many people redeeming for them end up going down. I don't actually have any proof of this, but from what I've seen, a lot of hotels that people tend to like seem to be hotels that are going up in point value. Plus, it also can end up being that inflation is happening. So since everything is costing more, Hyatt wants to end up adding these hotels to higher categories to end up making it so they end up getting more value for these higher prices that are going out there. A couple more hotels that I wanted to go over that are going to be going up that I happened to stay at in the last year are going to be the Tommy Hotel out in Austin. Now, this is a hotel that I completely understand actually why it's going up, because when I stayed there last year, actually I made a video about it where this hotel is actually connected to the Thompson Hotel out in Austin. The Thompson Hotel is a category 5, the Tommy Hotel is a category 3, but when you go to this hotel, you go into the exact same door, you end up going to the exact same elevator, except for when you go up the elevator, there's a Thompson side and a Tommy side, and you end up having a 2-category difference between these hotels. For me, it didn't make any sense because we're gonna be eating at the exact same breakfast, we're in the same location, we have the exact same pool, and I did not understand why there was a 2-category difference, because I didn't think that the Thompson Hotel's rooms were that much better than the Tommy Hotel. And actually in my video, I was talking about how if you happen to go to this location, it makes way more sense to go to the Tommy Hotel. So for this one, I understand why they would move the category up, because honestly, it just doesn't make any sense to me how you can end up having these two hotels be this big of a different category difference. The last hotel that I want to talk about that went up is going to be the Andaz out in London. Now, I went there for the Queen's Jubilee last year and had an incredible time. I absolutely love this hotel. The staff is incredible. The hotel has a bunch of different restaurants that connect to it that you can end up accessing, and I absolutely love the rooms. The location was fantastic. I really enjoyed my time out there, and honestly, I can end up seeing why this hotel ended up going up in category. But just knowing that I went out there and I stayed there for, I believe, 7 days, and just knowing that if I happen to try to book the same hotel in a month, this hotel would end up costing me 35,000 additional points to stay at this hotel. So there's the reason why that you should never hoard your points, and if you end up seeing a redemption that you actually want to end up doing, you take advantage of it and go on that adventure, because the points value is going to end up just dropping eventually over time, because this is just how the game goes. So people who are out there hoarding points, you shouldn't be hoarding your points. You should be trying to redeem your points for an amazing trip, because if you don't end up doing it now, then what's going to end up happening is that redemption you end up thinking is costing one amount of points is going to end up costing more in the future. So definitely go out there and redeem your points if you can before these changes end up occurring. Now, if you happen to have changes that are going to be in your favor, then wait until after March 28th to take advantage of it that way, so you can end up saving yourself some points. But hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you do have any questions, drop them down in the comment section down below, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Let me know what you think of these changes to the World of Hyatt program. Does this really turn you away from Hyatt, or is this something that you just see happens with the game? If you happen to really like this video, then please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and have a beautiful rest of your day. Peace.